The first one. Good evening, everyone. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Virginia Harger. I'm chairperson of the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission. Today is Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024, and the special meeting of the commission being conducted in Shelton City Hall and via Zoom is hereby called to order at 6:02 p.m. This meeting is also being carried live on YouTube. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. I'll start off with a roll call of the commission. Please verbally indicate you are present when your name is called. Commissioner Kelly.
Present.
Commissioner Parkins.
Present.
Commissioner Cristiano.
Present.
Commissioner Tiki.
Wait, who's coming?
All right, I'll come back to him. Commissioner Motto.
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Apple.
Here.
Alternate Commissioner McGee.
Present.
Myself, Commissioner Harger, Ms. Castro, our Assistant Planning and Zoning Administrator.
Present.
Ms. Vernazos, our Recording Secretary.
Present.
Charbonneau, our Stenographer.
Is on.
Ms. Charbonneau, unmute yourself, please. Okay, I'll go back to her. Attorney Francis Teodoso, Corporation Counsel.
I am present.
Thank you. Is Commissioner Tiki with us yet?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Tiki. Ms. Charbonneau, are you with us? Ms. Charbonneau, are you with us? She's muted?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, keep an eye out because I'll acknowledge her when she comes in. A couple points before continuing with this evening's agenda. Ms. Castro will act as the Zoom meeting host. While commissioners will be able to make comments throughout the meeting, the chair asks that you please identify yourself and wait to be recognized before speaking to make sure we are not all speaking over each other and to make sure our recording secretary is clear as to who is speaking. Public hearings are first on the agenda, and I would like to share the protocol we will be following. Staff will indicate if any written comments were received from members of the public no later than 24 hours before the start of this evening's meeting. If written comments were received, they will be read into the record. The applicant and or its associates will make their presentation. The commission can ask questions during the presentation or at its conclusion. The applicant and or associates can answer commission questions at the time they are presented or at the conclusion of the presentation. At the point in each public hearing when the chair asks for public comment, we will begin with elected officials of the city present in the auditorium, followed by elected officials participating via Zoom or through a phone link. After elected officials conclude their comments, members of the public will be recognized, starting with those present in the auditorium, followed by those participating remotely via Zoom or through the phone link. Those in the auditorium will need to list their name on a speaker sheet, which is here on the table. Those participating via Zoom will need to use Zoom's raise your hand feature, and those participating via phone will be recognized after dialing *9. After you are recognized, please state and spell your name and state your address to assist the recording secretary and stenographer when doing the minutes and transcript of the public hearing. Each speaker has 5 minutes to present comments, which should address specific criteria of the zoning regulations, the merits of the application, and be new information, not a repeat of comments presented by a previous speaker. Comments and questions should be directed to the commission, not to the applicant and or his associates. Members of the public are expected to practice appropriate etiquette by being quiet, observant, and respectful. Disruptive attendees may be removed from verbally participating. The applicant's attorney and or associates will be given the opportunity to address any comments or questions from the public after the last person from the public has been given the opportunity to speak. The commission feels further information is needed from the applicant or upon request of the applicant, the chair will ask for a motion to continue the public hearing. If a public hearing remains open, the commission is not allowed to make any public comment, discuss any part of the applicant's and or his associate's presentation, or receive any additional information from anyone. If the commission feels the applicant and or associates have answered all questions and have addressed all concerns from the commission and or public hearing will close. The commission reserves the right to discuss an application at the close of the public hearing or to schedule a discussion at an upcoming commission meeting. At either time, the commission will be asked by the chair on how it wants to proceed. So this is the continuation of the public hearing for application 2420, Dominic Thomas for Crown Point L2 LLC at 0 Bridgeport Avenue and 48 Long Hill Crossroads, Assessors Map 50, lots 15 and 16 in an LIP zone for a planned development district for a mixed-use commercial development to include a hotel, restaurants, grocery, and retail. This application was accepted for a review on July 10th, and the public hearing opened September 18th. Posted to the city's website prior to the opening of the public hearing on September 18th are the following: the application for a PDD zone, original and revised statement of uses and standards and site plans, architectural plans for each building, renderings, a GIS map of the parcel, a copy of the decision in 2772 BPR LLC versus the Planning and Zoning Commission of North Branford, a traffic report or stormwater drainage report, a memo from staff regarding tree clearing and the recording of the deed transferring ownership to the applicant, a letter from the applicant's attorney consenting to a 17-day extension to commence the public hearing, 2 letters from the Shelton Conservation Commission, individual letters from the attorney representing residents of Hawks Ridge, a soil scientist, a traffic engineer, 9 residents, 1 co-signed by 3 members of the Board of Aldermen, signed posting photos, and a certificate of mailing and public hearing notice. After the opening of the public hearing, the following were received: a section of the zoning map showing the area of the application, the zoning map legend, 2 letters from the Shelton Conservation Commission, and 5 from residents. Ms. Castro, were any other reports, materials, or correspondence received within the time period for this application, but not yet posted to the city's website that we need to acknowledge for the record?
No.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
Yes, Madam Chair, Attorney Dominic Thomas, Cohen & Thomas, 315 Main Street. As you're aware, Attorney McCann and I have been in communication over the last week or so, and he has not yet received. Attorney McCann, of course, is the attorney representing the residents of Hawks Ridge, and he has not received his reports that he has requested from his experts to address the reports that we filed. So it's the understanding is that the public hearing would be continued to tonight's public hearing would be continued to November 20th for him to provide me with that information and for us to do a response. However, I have been requested to address a couple of items tonight, which I will do. I will address the 2 exhibits that were filed at the last meeting, the parking study from a prior application, and the copy of the zoning map with ledge. In addition to that, I was asked to update on the discussions with DOT and to address the Conservation Commission letter. So with respect to the parking exhibit, I did address it, and the only reason it was put forth, it is a parking exhibit that shows Shelton Square, TJ Maxx and ShopRite, and shows it over a period of years. And it was to address comments that were made by the public or anticipated by the public made by the public in their some of their letters and everything like that concerning the amount of parking on the site. The parking on the site complies with the proposed parking ratio. The parking ratio that I put in there is a parking ratio that was used similarly in the marketplace and has worked successfully. And finally, the exhibit just it shows you over the years how the other shopping centers have substantial through aerial photos of Google Earth aerial photos show that there is an abundance of parking in many of our shopping centers, especially the older ones, which had higher parking ratios, and there is a substantial amount of asphalt. With respect to and I will screen share, with respect to the issue of the other exhibit, which I've got to pull up before I get to always got to get rid of that. The legend and the zoning map. There was a lot of discussion about what should go there and the POCD, and I did address this briefly towards the end of the meeting. What you see here is the legend that's on your zoning map. And the legend that's on your zoning map contains this. The black dots are future development, future plant economic development area. In other words, an area where there's going to be economic development. And if you read through both the 2006 plan and the update, the key to that is that, in fact, this is an area that they designated that there would be development other than as its potential development, economic development, other than as it is zoned. And the area that is so designated along Bridgeport Avenue is actually this entire parcel that is before you right now, as you can see here on the right of Bridgeport Avenue, you're looking, and is the large parcel across the street, which was zoned and is currently in litigation, but which was zoned for a PDD for substantial mixed-use development. I will point out that according to Attorney McCann, one of the reports he's expecting is from a planner, so I'll be interested to see that, because I think when you're looking at the POCD, what we are proposing is an economic development proposal that is substantially in accordance with your POCD. So before I go on to the next, are there any questions on that exhibit?
No, I have none. Any commissioners have any questions?
No.
No, go ahead, Attorney Thomas.
Okay, so the next thing I will go on to is the letter from the Conservation Commission, which I was asked to address, and the packet, which included both of their letters. This letter that they uploaded is addressed to the Connecticut Department of Transportation. And it is a request for intervenor status. So maybe to understand it better, I should point out to you what is the status since the first public hearing concerning the 50-foot parcel of land that abuts, that is state property that we requested that we purchase. And as I explained the last time, that 50-foot abuts the area along Crown Point that was purchased by the Crown Point developer from the state. And that was a 50-foot strip also back there. And it is the area that is in front of Wild Kanji. So in that 50-foot, the initial letter that we received before the last public hearing indicated that they were not the state was not going to be interested in selling the property. They had a few points in their letter, and at that point, now the fact that they wouldn't sell it, all that means is that the developer would still be having access to Bridgeport Avenue, would still put the bridges in, but with respect to the cleanup of the Wells Hollow Brook and anything that they needed to do in there, they would have to go file an application to the District 3 to do it. As an abutter, you have the right to do that anywhere you abut state right of way. However, on October 4th, I received a letter which I'll put up on the screen for you. And this is a letter from the property agent who was handling Adam Boyce. And as you can see from the letter, the department had completed its second review and of the state land and approved the release. And it has 5 conditions. And again, once the land is purchased, it will be added to the PDD. It isn't added right now because we didn't own it. The department, and it is right of way. So normally you don't add right of way to a PDD. So they are going to retain a drainage right of way. That's very important. I know we can get into arguments of when I said at the last meeting that Wells Hollow Brook is a drainage ditch for Bridgeport Avenue, and you can go out there, you can disagree with me, you can look at it, and basically it is. There are 5 catch basins on the westerly side, the other side of Bridgeport Avenue that drain underneath Bridgeport Avenue and right into Wells Hollow Brook. No BMPs. They are not vortex units or anything like that. Just old-fashioned catch basins with a pipe. Any drainage or channel maintenance will be the responsibility of the property owner. In other words, we're going to have to maintain where they drain. And if they drain into the brook, which we're not going to own, we're going to have to maintain it, which we knew all along. If the driveway is constructed, we will. They have to review it. That we know. That is part of both the OSTA application and it is part of the application for encroachment permits to District 3. And further, it is subject, of course, to your wetlands commission approval. The department will retain 20 feet measured from the edge of the travelway, the white line, for the purpose of a clear zone. This is a zone in which nothing can be constructed. Right now, based on this statement and based on the my conversations with the engineer, Manny Silva, the 20 feet from the white line actually goes only about 7 feet off the edge of pavement. So it does not go into the 50-foot area, but that zone for all intents and purposes would have to be a clear zone. So we're not going to be able to put any signs or anything in that nature of it. And finally, the activity in the release area does not interfere with traffic operations and maintenance activities associated with Bridgeport Avenue. So we were required to, and I did, provide them with the check, the $500 check that is required. We then received, I don't even know if I have the other letter. I received the letter today from, it's right here. Yes, I received the letter today, or not, well, dated the 18th. It came in the mail today, acknowledging the receipt and indicating that the release map will be prepared. So that is the normal procedure for all the numerous times I've dealt with rights of way. So now we look at the Conservation Commission letter.
Attorney Thomas, excuse me, I just wanted to confirm you'll be uploading those 2 letters? Did you put into
I did.
the...
I uploaded them today.
Okay, good.
I uploaded them today. And I mean, even though they are, again, they're for DOT purposes, but based on the concern with the Shelton Conservation Commission letter, I uploaded them. And when I get the release map, which, well, no, the release map will not be coming in before the public hearing is closed. I can pretty much assure you of that. So what do we have from the Conservation Commission letter? Well, they filed a letter in which they have, while they did not cite the statute, they're requesting intervenor status in the purchase. Now, remember, this letter, while being copied to the chairman, planning and zoning, it is not addressed to planning and zoning, okay? And what it does is it makes the statement that Wells Hollow Brook, as you can see here, is a tributary of the nearby Far Mill River, runs through the strip of state land along Bridgeport Avenue, and the Far Mill is stocked with trout by the Connecticut Deep and is a kayaking destination. As has often been said, you planning and zoning commissioners do not leave their experience or their common sense at the door. I'm sure you've seen Wells Hollow Brook. And rather than give you a tour on the GIS, I can tell you, since I've been involved with it for years, Wells Hollow Brook originates somewhere up Buddington and whatever, west, wherever it goes. And I was involved with a portion of the brook, I don't know what it's called there, as it comes down and surrounds Walmart. And then it goes in front of the, where in Walmart, large portions of it are culverted and portions are open. Then it goes around in front of the Woodland Mobile Homes and behind the small parcel where the old gas station used to be. Then it goes underground and comes through under Bridgeport Avenue, goes underground by the sewer pump station, then comes out in front of Wyokangi, a portion of Crown Point, and then it goes open. It runs open then with a very relatively undefined channel at that point, going in front of many areas that has been moved by the various things. And from that point on, it serves as the drainage area for Bridgeport Avenue. And then when it gets under, it goes under Long Hill Crossroads. It then goes in front of the light industrial building. And then Ben's Left goes around. If you've ever enjoyed the ice cream at Wells Farm, it goes right behind their parking lot there, across Beard Sawmill and into the brook. It is not a trout stream. There is no fish in it. And in fact, if you seriously look at it, it is a stream that has been silted and numerous times had pollution from the road poured into it. Now, what they have done is say they want to be an intervener in my client's request to purchase the property. The statute that they are referring to is that, if they didn't cite it, is this. And the statute is 22A19. They have the perfect right, I believe, even though they are a commission, that would be a little bit of a legal question for your corporation counsel to look into, okay? But as you can see, in any administrative licensing or other proceeding and just judicial review of them, okay, that a party, a person, partnership, corporation, association, organization, or other legal entity may intervene as a party. I don't think the Conservation Commission would qualify, but regardless of that, any individual could actually, in this case, file an intervener in this application that's pending right now. They have the perfect right. They will also be able to file an intervener in the wetlands application. And they will not be able to file, based on case law, an intervener status in the OSTA application, because they must file the application over when the reviewing authority, the board or commission, has somewhere in their decision-making authority environmental concerns. You have it in your PDD regulation. Of course, wetlands has it. So they have the right to do that. We're not disputing that they wouldn't. However, the basically bald-faced allegation that they make, which really relates to what is, they don't just make a general thing that somehow the development's going to pollute something that is currently polluted by drainage from the road, and that is going to now impact the Farm Mill River, which is obviously several hundred yards away. There's no fish in this. Notice in section 2 of the regulation of the statute, they don't just make a bald-faced allegation. You have to have a verified pleading that contains specific factual allegations setting forth the nature of the unreasonable pollution, impairment, destruction of the public trust. So you got to be somewhat detailed. Now, in the letter from the Conservation Commission, they've attached certain things, most of which is stuff we filed, and they attached the first letter they filed, where they make reference that there'll be vast impervious surfaces and egregious for failure to preserve the natural resources on the south, and the brook corridor would be reduced to a drainage ditch catching litter from the new parking. Well, first of all, we have presented a substantial presentation on the stormwater drainage and all the protections that is going to take place. And you heard that. I'm not going to go over it from Manny Silva. Right now, there is no one in there to clean up. Right now, if there is litter or pollution from the road drainage. What I'm going to show you is something that we produced in 2017 at the prior application and is being worked on now. And I'm going to show it to you only because I think what the Conservation Commission has stated in here is completely disingenuous. This is the stream corridor, very expensive and costly stream corridor rehabilitation plan that was proposed with the 2017 application. It is currently under review by a wetlands soil scientist who is looking at this and making changes in accordance with the current application. And what is the purpose for a developer? What are the requirements that are going to be imposed upon it by not just you, but by the Wetlands Commission? And I can pretty much assure you, when you saw the letter from the DOT, by the DOT. And I'm just going to highlight not the plant list, because we know that that plant list, we know who's going to review it. But the stream corridor management part, short-term and long-term. Not going to go over everything, but please take the time to scan it. This is what the objectives would be. There's monitoring, maintenance, and management. You have no one monitoring, maintaining it, or managing it right now. You're not going to get the state to put in best BMPs in its storm drainage. The state doesn't go in and clean the channel, doesn't pick up the dead trees, doesn't clean the invasives. But as part of your approvals, as part of wetlands approvals, more likely as part of the requirements of the state and as part of the PDD approval, a lot of these things that are in here, what the applicant is proposing, will be required of the applicant. And the applicant of a commercial center like this, who is interested in collecting very favorable rents, has to comply with the requirements and does not want to have something that is going to be a mess in front. So it is more apt to be cleaned up if there is any litter in there. There, as you see in here, removal of tree and trash, pruning of trees, maintaining of stormwater system. But I just am showing it to you because you will be getting at some point, whether it's, I don't know if it's before we conclude the public hearing, but we will be filing the wetlands application, which we're going to require, which we have to file before the final site development plans. We hope to be able to file that within the next few weeks to pursue it along. And in it, this is going to be part of our proposal. And as you can see, the state is going to be looking at the hydraulic flows and how our bridges, if any, if they impact it, and what we're going to be doing to the area. So I do believe the Conservation Commission is more than welcome to get appropriate legal advice and file a 22, I don't think they can file it, or have someone file a 22A19 application. We're not afraid of it. Some people are. We think what we're doing is not disturbing the environment. What it will be doing in the end is preserving the environment. So I believe I have answered all the questions, and you can ask I've addressed all the concerns that I was asked to address tonight. So if there are any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Any commissioners have any questions?
Madam Chair, the extensive
Is your mic on?
The extensive conversations involved here regarding the stream or drainage ditch or whatever is being called here, wouldn't this clearly be falling under the Inland Wetlands Commission and not this board?
It runs well. You do have Commissioner Cristiano. Just I don't want to eliminate the fact that in your zoning regulations for PDDs, you do have the right to consider environmental concerns. You're not, as you stated, you're not the Wetlands Commission. So it's important for us to address the issue because the brook and the maintenance of the brook and hopefully enhancing the brook and creating a mitigation feature is very important. But the primary jurisdiction over what's going to happen in there is going to be the Inlands Wetlands Commission, number one, and number two, the DOT, because it will be part of the conditions of the sale of the property.
Thank you.
Commissioner Amato?
Yeah, I'm just not familiar with the intervenor status. What would that, allow them to do in terms of filing that?
It's
status?
very, yeah, there's a great base of case law on this. It allows anybody to file a verified pleading in any proceeding. It happens quite a bit. I believe, I'm not sure if there was intervenor status on Shelter Ridge. There may have been in another Shelton matter. And basically it allows them for the purpose of showing that the activity that is before the various board, commission, whatever, or even in the appeal, that activity is would create an unreasonable pollution, impairment, or destruction of the public trust. So even though the interesting thing about the 22A intervenor status, they have certain rights, they are limited, but they can also end off being participants and intervene in an appeal process and everything. But they can intervene at any hearing, including your hearing, the Inlands Wetlands hearing. In a case, a very famous case in the Zardo, they attempted to intervene in the old version of OSTA was called the STC, State Traffic Commission. They tried to intervene, and the Supreme Court ruled it did not have the regulations governing state traffic, or OSTA did not have a requirement that they analyze environment. With respect to this application specifically, they could intervene because your PDD regulations, even though it's a zone change, even though you're wearing your legislative hat, one of the factors that you have in 34, section 34, is for you to consider environmental impacts.
All right, so as an intervenor, their concerns have to be addressed. So basically.
They would, yes, they would certainly, as an intervener, they can introduce evidence, but it's related specifically to it's related specifically to the issue of pollution and unreasonable pollution and destroying of the natural resources. Okay, there have been cases where they've intervened in historical nature, not the case here. One thing about an intervener is an intervener can be any member of the public, and they can carry that intervening status on into the court, even though they may not be an aggrieved person. In other words, a person within the 100 feet and able to be a party in an appeal.
There's also typically a responsibility on the intervener to provide copies of all correspondence to all parties, and also to be a recipient of all information that's being provided to parties. So there is a little bit of onus of responsibility on the intervener.
Exactly. And they can't just go in and say, this is going to be bad. They got to show how it's going to be bad.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Attorney Thomas? And let me just note for the record that Stephanie Charbonneau, our stenographer, did join the meeting at 6:10 p.m.
Oh, and just to note, I did upload, I believe I did. If I didn't, I will. Connecticut General Statutes 22A 19.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Thomas. We'll now move to the public portion of the public hearing. Just a reminder that the only items the public can comment on are the new material submitted by the applicant, most of which Attorney Thomas just went through. And we'll start with elected officials of the city of Shelton that are present in the auditorium. And on the sign-up sheet, we have John Angles. Mr. Angles, did you want to address the commission?
Just briefly,
Yeah, come on up, have a seat.
what do you want?
Right here, front and center. And Mr. Anglais, you have 5 minutes.
I hope to use less than that.
Okay.
I never thought I'd sit here and agree with Attorney Thomas, but I guess that's where I'm coming from. This is a transitional site, as I see it. I may not be talking your language, but it's been a transitional site for some time, over 30 years, as I remember. And it's positive to move in the direction of economic development. And of course, I see in this, what you've presented so far, I've seen that they're willing to give you status, plan development district status, which gives you further insights to make sure that everything is done right and everything is done according to what is supposed to be done. I want to see the continuation of our development. We gave up several years back, we gave up the Hawks Ridge site. We changed that from economic development to allow housing to be built there, and that change took away some of our growth. So we can't continue to lose growth along the corridor, Bridgeport Avenue corridor. It's necessary to the developers who are there, and it's a commitment that we've made to them, that we will provide them with the necessary services to carry on their businesses and to do it in a profitable manner, in a safe manner. And I think that we ought to continue to move in the direction that we're going and what we've planned. Our comprehensive plan of development has already taken too many hits along the way that we've changed things, but you just can't continue to give up the growth sites, because what our plan was to make sure that we could afford to do these things. It provides us with the revenues, and in many cases, we're already feeling the loss of capital revenues that these properties will generate. So we want to keep that going in the right direction. Other than that, I just see the plan development district being a positive thing, and it should be pursued. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anglais. Are there any elected officials participating remotely that wish to address the commission? Please use Zoom's raise your hand feature or dial *9 on your phone.
Do I have to go back to my old seat?
Yes, please.
Oh, this one's so comfortable.
You can move over one.
No.
All right, there are no public officials participating remotely, so we'll go to members of the public who have signed up, and we have Bean Carbone. Mr. Carbone, if you have a seat up here so that you'll be on video.
Okay, that's good. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to express my opinions. So if I have any of the content wrong, just correct me, please. So my name is Ben Carbone. I'm president of Modern Plastics, not Inline Plastics, which happens to be downtown, but we are on Long Hill Crossroad. And I am also, I want to identify myself as chairman of the Economic Development Commission for the city of Shelton. I'm here only on my behalf as president of Modern Plastics and as a city resident for 33 years. So when I first saw the trucks and the tractors and everything else coming up Long Hill Crossroad and breaking into the side of the property, I said, oh boy, this is not going to be good. Long Hill Crossroad is a bit of a dangerous road, and it's a bit of a crowded road as it is right now. So my understanding is that there will be no exit onto Long Hill Crossroad from this development. That's a big relief. I also wanted to find out, because Modern Plastics runs parallel to a fair amount of that property on Bridgeport Avenue. And I wanted to make sure that there was some sort of buffer in place, trees, etc. And as the property was being cleared, I noticed that that was the case. The property is not owned by Modern Plastics, it's Bob Cinto property, but I wanted to be sure that that was going to be part of the process, and it appears that it has been because the trees are still there. So I want to express my full support for the project because I see a tremendous economic value to Shelton and enormous benefit for our residents and visitors to the city as well. And I'll briefly explain why. First of all, my understanding is there's going to be a hotel there. We do have a number of hotels here in Shelton, but I will tell you from my business experience, we have a lot of customers, suppliers, and visitors to Modern Plastics. And what I tell them is this: if you want to stay in the city of Shelton, you better make your reservation early. Otherwise, you won't be staying in Shelton. And when people aren't staying in Shelton, they're not spending money. Second of all, convention halls. I know the Marriott has a large one, and I go there frequently. I'm not sure if there are any other hotels in the city that have one quite as extensive as the Marriott. But from being involved in a lot of different organizations in Shelton and the Valley who utilize the Marriott, I know full well that if they're not making advanced reservations for the usage of that hall, they're not going to have it. My understanding is that the hotel will have one of these, let's call them convention type rooms, which is needed. In terms of the restaurant, I understand there's be a Texas Roadhouse and a Dairy Queen. Large vanilla dipped in butterscotch for me. And, you know, the restaurants here, it's the same sort of thing. I see people walking from the courtyard, you know, to the various restaurants. If you're not making a reservation to many of these restaurants on the weekend, you're not getting in. And I think there's a large variety of choices, and I think this is going to be a great addition as well. In terms of the traffic, which is always an issue, I will say this: I understand there's a good deal of improvements, road enhancements. I think I also read something about some Route 8 exits that have to be modified, and I know there's a good deal of money that's being spent in order to do that. My only comment on all of this is, tell me what popular city anywhere in the world that does not have a traffic problem. And to me, that means success. So I'm willing to deal with the traffic because from a business climate, I think there's tremendous opportunities here for growth. And we have a very vibrant community. We have a very diverse community. And I will just comment, this Planning and Zoning Commission does an excellent job. This is complicated work that you do. I admire what you do. I can never do it. And I commend you for making all good decisions, as tough as they can be at times. I fully support this project.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Carbone. Is there anyone else from the public here in the auditorium that wishes to address the commission? Come on up, sir. And then we will go to members of the public participating remotely. Okay, just sign in.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, so we have here Attorney McCann, so identify yourself for the record.
Sure. Good evening, Brian McCann from the law firm Pullman Comley. I represent the Hawks Ridge Association. Thank you for allowing me to speak, and thank you for the courtesy of the extension of time so that we could complete our expert reports. Next meeting, we intend to present to you a traffic report by a traffic engineer, a stormwater drainage report by a civil engineer, and a professional planner's report. The couple quick comments, the Google Earth map showing the parking lots of Stop and Shop, TJ Maxx, ShopRite, just want to point out the obvious, which is it's a snapshot in time. Obviously, traffic and parking is very dependent upon the time of day and the month. And we have some experts that have and will report to you on the traffic numbers. So we should have good data to rely on there. As far as the comments tonight about the stream along the front of Bridgeport Avenue, we've had some testimony from a wetland scientist on that. And I don't think that any number of stormwater drainage would classify a water course as any certain category. Obviously, you know, the Housatonic River probably receives thousands of entries from storm basins, and that doesn't make it any less of a river. Nor does, you know, should Long Island Sound be categorized as a detention basin because it receives the storm water. Additionally, the focus, I think, should be on the impact rather on whether there's existing impact from roadways. The impact should be measured from the actual development. I think that that's what the regulation contemplates. Right now, it's undeveloped. Obviously, the proposal will change a few things. As far as Commissioner Cristiano's comment, I just want to point out that the findings required for the initial development concept plan 34.8 little g specifically state that the commission must make a finding on ecological and environmental concerns associated with the proposal, including impacts on wetlands, watercourses, and other aspects of the environment will be adequately addressed. Lastly, the association is concerned about the future use of the rear of the parcel. There was a comment, some discussion at the last meeting about how that's going to be reserved for LIP zone. I believe one commissioner had made the recommendation that it be dedicated to open space, and the applicant through council was going to consider that, look into it, and get back to the commission. Just a few quick notes on what the relevance of that is. Number one, the regulation contemplates the consideration of existing and future land uses, nearby land uses. Obviously, it's going to be important to know what that land use would be. You've heard a gentleman from the public state that he believes there won't be an exit onto Long Hill Cross. That may be inaccurate. We don't know as of yet. The lot is not subdivided currently, so it is all one parcel. So I think it's appropriate to look at the entire parcel. And additionally, the PDD regulations requires the consideration of these nearby land uses, including but not limited to potential impact, property values, etc. And on a very practical note, we're going to have, the association is going to have a couple experts at the next meeting presenting, you know, cumulative impact, and to what degree, if any, that analysis may be impacted depending upon what that land use is, or that future land use is, traffic numbers onto Long Hill Cross, stormwater, etc. So just on an end note, if there is a way that could be resolved or further defined, that would help the analysis, so we don't have a never-ending discussion here about those impacts. Thank you. Thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else from the public like to address final call here in the auditorium? If there's anyone from the public that's participating remotely, please use Zoom's raise your hand feature or dial *9.
No one.
No one? Okay, Attorney Thomas, would you like to comment on any of the comments made?
It's muted.
You're muted.
I'm certainly going to agree with the first two speakers, but with respect to Attorney McCann's points, and the upper area, I have two things to say. Number one, as I pointed out last time, this is zoned LIP. And by BPR case and everything, I pointed it out to you. That means you have made a determination that those as of right uses within LIP, which you're welcome to look at, two 100,000 square foot or 50,000 square foot light industrial buildings the infrastructure is more than sufficient according to your zoning to simply go right out onto Long Hill Crossroads. And there is no way anybody that does light industrial work is going to go through the expense of, number one, exiting onto Bridgeport Avenue and doing the bridges and everything. Number two, maintaining Wells Hollow Brook. As to the upper area, I left it as LIP, and one of the reasons was because in the prior proposal, the upper area was housing, and that was not favored by the commission, even though you had Hawks Ridge across the street. But there is a limiting factor. Yes, it is LIP. Yes, it could be used as that, and we will have discussions as to what. But one of the other applications that I forgot to mention to you is that we will be going before the WPCA to relocate the sewer line. In order to do this development, we need to move the sewer line farther to the east, closer to the building farther up the hill. That sewer line running through there is going to limit its developability, because obviously if you're in a sewer easement, the sewer line, it's a city sewer easement, which we would have to relocate. We would not be able to put a building over the sewer line. So yes, if there was development up there, and I am in discussions with the client, going over all the things that go, but I do want to point that out. But keep in mind that the existing zoning is LIP. The existing zoning isn't keep it in its natural state. There is no such zoning. So I just wanted to point that out. Thank you very much. And I look forward to responding to whatever the Hawks Ridge people present, and we will respond on the 20th of November.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Thomas. Do any commissioners have any final comments, questions, or concerns for the applicant? Okay, as noted by the applicant, as this traffic study from a trained mechanics consultant has not yet been filed. Is there a motion to continue the public hearing for this application? Motion from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second?
A second.
Second from Commissioner Amato. So on the motion to continue, Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Ticky,
Aye.
Commissioner Cristiano,
Aye.
Commissioner Amato,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Right.
and the chair votes aye. Motion is passed by a vote of 6-0. This application is scheduled for continuation on November 13th.
The 13th or the 20th?
No, I will discuss it with staff, but I had indicated my travel schedule allowed me to participate on the 13th. So we'll bring that up in our
Okay.
discussion. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you very much. Next agenda item is application 2422. Paul Bombero for Henry Kona at 41 and 45 Bridgeport Avenue, assessors map 117, lots 11 and 10 in a CB2 zone for a special exception application for a 3-floor mixed-use building with 4 retail spaces on the ground floor, 3 2-bedroom units and 4 1-bedroom units on each of the second and third floors. A letter of withdrawal was submitted earlier today by the applicant. Is there a motion to accept the letter of withdrawal?
I'll make that motion.
Motion to accept the letter of withdrawal for application 2422 from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Commissioner Cristiano. On the motion to accept the letter of withdrawal, Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Cristiano,
Aye.
Commissioner Amato,
Aye.
Commissioner Ticky,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Motion is passed by a vote of 6-0. Next agenda item is application 2425. PDD number 101, Attorney Stephen Bellis for Good Guys Development LLC at 275 Quorn Road. Assessors map 66, lots 22, 23, 24 for a major modification to the statement of uses and standards, increasing the affordable housing apartment count percentage from 10 to 20% versus Chaffla's work loan force requirements. Commissioner Motta, would you please read the public hearing notice?
Sure. Initiation of application 24-25, PDD number 101, Attorney Stephen Bellis for Good Guys Development LLC at 275 Quorum Road. Assessors map 66, lot 22, 23, 24 for a major modification to a PDD to modify the statement of uses and standards to increase the designated affordable units from 10% to 20% for Chaffla's build for Connecticut loan requirements. This property is generally bound as follows: northerly, 0 River Road, assessors map 66, lot 3, southerly, 289 Quorum Road, easterly by 495 River Road, and westerly, 25 Constitution Boulevard.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Amato. This application was accepted for review on October 9th. Posted to the city's website is the approved statement of uses and standards, the application and petition for a major modification of PDD number 101, the program criteria for Build for Connecticut, Connecticut's workforce housing program, a memo from the applicant, the land use restrictive covenant, notice of the public hearing, and a list of notice recipients. Ms. Castro, or any other reports, materials, or correspondence received within the time period for this application, but not yet posted to the city's website, that needs to be acknowledged for the record.
No.
Okay. So I see the applicant is present. Please identify yourself for the record and proceed.
Sure, I'm attorney Stephen Bellis. I represent Good Guys and they hired a good lawyer. No?
Modest too.
Commercial.
That was, I'm gonna start timing you.
No, I'll be quick.
Okay.
So this is regarding 275 Quorum, which is the apartment building that used to be on Petramont. Most of you approved that project. They're still here, so you probably remember. But back in 2021, 22, I'm not great with dates, I wrote it down. We were the only developers in town who voluntarily gave affordable housing. And at the time, I used the word workforce at the time that I made the application. And we agreed to give 10% workforce housing to the town. In July of 2022, this commission approved that and had a resolution, as you always do for a PDD. And I happen to pull up a copy of it. And in that resolution, it says that there's 100 units with, and I'll quote, 10% of the units shall be reserved as affordable housing units. The building use mix consists of 40 studios, 32 one-bedrooms, and 28 one-bedrooms with office. The affordable housing units will reflect the overall unit mix. So when we had that conversation way back in 2022, I think it may have been Commissioner Parkins was concerned that the affordable units be spread out, not just be the little studios, that they be spread out and mixed among all the units. And I agreed to that. And it was put into the
That
resolution.
is actually a requirement. For affordable housing.
There was no affordable housing.
Okay, sorry, yes, but, yeah, okay, I get you.
No, yes, but there wasn't.
Yeah.
So the resolution says the 100 units must include not less than 10 units allocated as affordable units in compliance with the requirements. And with the overall unit mix. I have no problem with any of that. That's what I agreed to. The resolution does not state the length of time for a deed restriction because it was never discussed. I never brought it up, commission never brought it up. So I looked at the Connecticut general statutes and how do they define affordable in the statutes? And the definition is the one that I used in my statement of uses as having income equal or less than 80% of the median income. That's in the statement of uses. I don't have a disagreement with that. I agree to that, and I continue to agree to that. That's right in the regulation. The only time you see a restriction with a deed restriction for 40 years is under 8-30G for a set-aside development. that does have a deed restriction for 40 years. You all know that I didn't file an 8-30G. And so therefore, that set aside development of 40 years, in my opinion, does not apply. So if you look at the good guys' statement of uses, it says 80% of median income, restrictions, 10%, mixed use, all those things are in there. And that's in the resolution. And just so for the record, I'm just gonna hand things in. Then lo and behold, what happens? There's a letter that pops up in the zoning file, never sent to me. And never agreed to, in my opinion, by this commission. It was written by Alex Rossetti, and it says, final site development plan approval letter. And in that letter, he writes a paragraph buried on the 3rd page that says, that no certificate or final compliance will be issued until the affordable units are deed restricted for a minimum of 40 years. And an administrator for the affordable housing units is designated and approved by the planning and zoning administrator. That was never discussed. That was never voted on, because I have the resolution by the zoning commission. And we still to this day don't have anybody as the planning administrator for these affordable units. So I prepared in order to get my building permit, I prepared a deed restriction. I argued with Alex and I said, I'm not recording it. And I didn't, because I didn't agree with it. So.
Attorney Bells, can I
Yeah.
ask when that letter from Alex was?
No, it's not dated.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I can't answer that question.
Thank you.
It's not.
No, it's
dated.
here. Oh, well, the resolution.
No, that's
is
the
attached,
resolution,
Dated,
not
yeah,
the-
yeah,
yeah, that's not
21st
dated.
of 2021.
Yeah.
It's not here.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, here's the, yeah, that was the letter. So, what happens next? Connecticut has one program that I'm aware of, to help encourage developers to designate units, as they call it now, workforce. And the town does get credit under its point system as being affordable, and that's called the Build for Connecticut Workforce Housing Program. I've given everybody a copy of it. I didn't come up with this program. It's a state program. It's to encourage people to get these CHAFA loans, and it helps the town by giving them points, and it helps the developer because they give a low interest rate on the loan. It's not, let me just be clear, they're not giving us any money, it's a loan. So this is not like a home run project from CHAFA. In fact, a lot of my clients say that what good is this? It's just a loan, we have to pay it back, and we're gonna what's so great about this? Well, that's all they have.
Lower interest?
Yes, the lower interest rate,
Rates or-
yeah, Commissioner Amato hit it on the head. The reason we like it, the interest rate is 2%. Yeah. But, listen to me, they limit the amount of money they'll give you.
Of course.
Yeah, so no question about it. So in our case, let me be frank, we borrowed $23 million to build this project. I went into my piggy bank, as did the other partner, and we put up our own money and we borrowed 23 million at, like, I don't know, 6-7%.
Yeah.
So that's our first mortgage. This is a totally separate second mortgage. And it's for 2.5 million.
Yeah, but you could pay off on the other mortgage.
Could I pay off the other? Sure.
No, you can pay the 2.5 on the other mortgage. And would have the 2% in lieu of the 6.5.
Well, I guess theoretically you're right, Commissioner, but I need all $23.5 million to build, to build it.
Stop spending.
Use the money.
Stop spending. No, I think it's a fair point. Could we have built a cheaper building? Yeah, we probably could have. We wanted to build something because this was a project that we were gonna own. We're not flipping it. We didn't get our approval from you guys and then sell it to well, I don't want to disparage anybody. Sell it to another big developer, right? So it's a project that we said, let's make this the nicest apartment building in Shelton. We put a lobby in it that cost a lot of money. It's a big separate atrium lobby that has a gym, it has a dog shower in it, it has golf simulators, it has coffee shop, it has workshop meetings, it has an Amazon room. We went overboard. Yes, Commissioner Kelly could say you shouldn't have spent so much. But we did, and we wanted to make it nice, because we lived in this town. I for 40 years, and Mr. DiFilippo, I don't know how old he is, but a lot. Almost 70, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I'll be careful. So the long and the short of it is that this does help us. We get a second mortgage, and Chaffa has a deed restriction. And in their deed restriction, I've attached it to your materials, it says that the loan is a 20-year loan. And as long as you have the loan, that deed restriction will stay on the land record, so theoretically for the 20 years. It does also, it says, even if you paid it off tomorrow, not that we would, but even if you did, there's a minimum of 6 years that you can't have that deed restriction be shorter than. So that's not something I came up with. That's the program. Apparently, the state felt that that was fair, or they wouldn't have passed the law, right? So, and I have no gripe with it whatsoever. The long and the short of it is, when you have a loan for $2.5 million at 2%, you're just that's a great interest rate. I don't know that you can beat it ever. So I think it's gonna be there for a long, long time. I shouldn't pay it off.
No.
No, I agree with you. Yeah. So I agree with Commissioner Amato. That's probably not gonna get paid off. The first one, yes. At 7% and 23 million, it's a 10-year note. It will probably get refinanced. Absolutely. But not the little one. So when we went to Chaffa, they said, who's your administrator? Oh, I asked Alex, I asked the city council, I asked the town attorney. They don't have one, is what I was told. You don't have one. So Chaffa said, well, if you don't have one, we could administer the program for you for all the 20 units. So they will tell us how much we can charge on those 20 units, which is a significant discount from market rate. They will check everybody's income through tax returns. This is Chaffa will do this. They will administer the whole program with no cost to the city. And so I thought that was a good thing. Yeah. And I said, oh, this will be a no-brainer. Let me look at my statement of uses, which I did. And in it says exactly what I told you earlier. It says 10%. So I would like to increase that to 20% because that's what the Chaffa, they don't require that. They need 20%.
Attorney Bellis, just remind us, how often do they verify?
Chaffa?
Yeah.
Yearly.
Yearly, every year.
Yeah.
That's by state statute.
And the other thing is they make sure you do the mixed units. They tell us you know what unit. One bedroom with an office. A studio. You can't just put all studios. So they do all that administrating. If you don't, you're in breach of the contract, and I don't know, bad things happen, I suppose. So no one plans on doing that anyway. So I looked real quick at Shelton, and you probably don't want to hear this, but the statistics for Shelton for affordable housing in 2023, we're at 3.35%. I looked according to the census in 2022, there's 15,774 households in Shelton, 82 are deed restricted. That's what it says on the census data. Unfortunately, I don't think we're ever going to get to 10%, right? It's very, 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 very difficult. You got 15,000 houses, as new ones get built, that number keeps getting higher. You can just do simple math. We're not going to get there. Notwithstanding, I still am of the opinion, and I'm not changing my position one iota, that I think it's nice for 2 residents of Shelton to offer workforce units to people in Shelton or the vicinity that make 80% of the median. And I'm not deviating from that, or I'm not asking anyone to change that. I'm asking you to increase it from 10%, which you gave me, to 20%. So I thought that this would be something where I would get a pat on the back and a favorable vote.
Seems like everybody should try that.
Yeah, so that's my pitch.
Is Chappa gonna screen tenants for you, or they have a
Do they
waiting
screen,
list?
yeah, do they screen tenants as far as income? Yeah,
That's about it, though.
Yeah, so I think.
yeah, they have to meet the 80% of median income.
Right,
And
right.
it has to be on tax returns, and they'll tell me, I mean, it gets more complicated, I'm not gonna bore you, but they'll also tell you, hey, you know what? The person just got fired, I
Yeah.
can't kick him out of the unit, you know, right? You know, he has to finish his lease, that's permissible. They're not gonna throw somebody out, you know, they're just, or likewise, you get a raise, you got a bonus, right?
Yeah,
They're not gonna kick you out. But next year, when the lease is up,
yeah.
they start again.
So I think I'm maybe not alone in thinking that all the affordable units that we're approving had to be deed restricted.
They do, in order to get points. In Shelton, you know, towards the moratorium or towards the affordable, there can be, there, you have to have a 80%. Median income is the minimum, is at least one criteria. There's nothing that says it has to be 40 years, okay?
Well, I'm saying I think
Yeah.
we've all been
You-
under the impression.
Well, I can tell you where that impression came
Yeah.
from. I think the town passed, I haven't read it in a while, an affordability plan that they had to submit to the state, and it was put into that plan.
But we didn't come up with that out of nowhere, we got it.
No, your consultants probably suggested that since the 830G set aside development is 40 years, that it be 40 years. I can't answer that question. But there's nothing that says it has to be 40 years. Well, listen, Chapa, looking at these statistics from the Connecticut data, they count single-family Chapa USDA mortgages towards your percentage of 3.35%. And the Chapa program that I gave you is a 20-year deed restriction. So in my opinion, if they count Chapa towards the 3.35, there's no requirement, it has to be 40 years. The only 40-year number I could find came from the set-aside development under 8-30G. That certainly has a 40-year deed restriction, no question. No question.
It's
But we
always
didn't-
been my understanding that unless there is a deed restriction put in place, we do not get credit for the affordable housing component. And we will constantly be battling to reach that 10%. And
Yeah,
so I just wonder, Attorney Bellis, what did you think the term was going to be when you offered 10%? What did you think the term was going to be?
I didn't know, to be quite honest.
Wouldn't you have asked
Um, I
to
didn't
offer up
ask.
10%? I would have.
Yeah, listen, I didn't know how long it would be, but when I saw that there was a program that Chapa has that gives you guys credit and it has a 20-year deed restriction, I'm gonna file that deed restriction. It's gonna be on the land records. Yeah. So I have no problem with that.
Well, I know you've said on record that you would not file an 830G in your town. I don't know actually if you've said it on the record, but I've heard you say it.
I didn't say it on the record, but,
that you would not do that. So I think you know, we've been working on this for quite some time. I think you know how, well, I won't speak for all commissioner members, but I'll speak for myself for certainly how we are struggling with this 830G and that it's just become a real thorn in our side. And so, you know,
Yeah.
if we just keep hitting at it and saying that we're never going to meet it, so we should just let developers do what they want anyway, we're not doing our job. Right?
Well,
We're supposed
I
to be
don't
meeting a
know.
goal. We put a plan in place. We're working toward that, you know, reaching that goal so that we can have a moratorium to stop all of this apartment building. That's undesirable. I'm not saying all of it's undesirable, but some of it is for sure. So I just, you know,
I understand your concern. I can't speak for all the commissioners. You have an opinion. I've seen 830G projects that are very nice. In Fairfield, I did one, near the train station. And I know, I know that you know that when they talk about 30% being set aside under 830G, these people make in our median income, the median income for Shelton is $117,000. So 80% of that, I'm not great in math, but ballpark is what? $80,000-$90,000.
Right.
These are not, quote, undesirable projects. You have a $90,000 employee living in an apartment. I do understand. I don't think it's that what bothers the town. I think what bothers the town is that the density becomes too much under 830G.
Right.
And that's a problem that I can understand.
Yeah, and in
But-
most cases, the density increases by 30% so that they can use that 30% to do the affordable
Hard to say.
component. So the density is just increasing as a result of that. So
Yeah.
now you
So-
said that this Chaffa is a 20-year deed restriction?
Yes, I attached it to my material. The loan is a 20-year note, and as long as you
But
have
if
the
it's
loan-
paid off sooner, that deed restriction comes off. Is that correct?
But never less than 6 years. Yes, that's what I said. I gave they give you a draft, so I attached it. So as I said to Commissioner Amato, it's our intention to keep this building. Why wouldn't you keep a 2% loan? I'm gonna pay that loan off. I'm gonna pay a credit card off, but I'm not gonna pay off that loan. So, listen, you wanna help, Commissioner Parkins, you wanna help developers? I think a program like this helps them. Maybe it'll persuade them not to do an 830G. Because the town is trying to encourage housing in a different manner. I don't see how this is a state program where Chaffa offers the developer. I wish they had better programs. I wish they gave us money, but they don't. This is the best we have now. Maybe next year it changes. I can't speak for I hear Governor Lamont talk a lot about we're gonna try to do housing. He's trying, I bet, but he's got to deal with the legislature and it's not easy, let's put it that way. I don't think this harms the town one iota, and I can tell you by sitting here that it helps us to build a better product. That's it. We did everything right. And, I don't want to pick and gripe, but when I asked the Water Pollution Control Authority saying, look, I voluntarily gave 10% as affordable units. Would you consider waiving the connection fee? They said, yeah, that makes sense, Steve. We'll be glad to help you. 2 years later, like last month, I was never called to a meeting. They revoked that. They revoked my waiver on the affordable unit saying, well, we don't do that here in Shelton. They paved Quorum Road. You guess where they stopped paving? They paved where my neighbor got on their project approved in front of his project. They stopped right at our property line and said, you guys pay for paving Quorum Road. You have a new facility, you have a new project there, you want it to look nice, you pay for it. I don't see how that's helping us. We've done everything that we've been asked to do, and I think.
Well, they did, the city, in all fairness, the city did allow you to close off Petromont Lane. So,
Yeah, I
and
think
that
that
allowed
was
you
a
to
nice-
increase, to double the amount of units there. So in all fairness, I think you need to give the city a little bit of a credit.
Yeah, I don't think it helped solve the safety problem, but I don't want to argue with you. But yes, they were very nice about that. I agree. But we've done everything. We don't complain. We just do it. So I'm coming to you with my hand in my hat saying, I need this money. I want to finish the project. And, I want the loan and I want to give 20% instead of 10%. I don't know.
Attorney Bellis, with this approval letter, didn't you have to have that in hand to get your building permits?
I don't know. We had a general contractor get the building permit.
Ms.
Second,
Castro,
Dino.
you were in the office at that time?
Yes.
So, do you know anything?
I
about
didn't
that?
get the building permit.
Is it possible to pull up online with that open go?
Yeah, second Dino.
Yeah, so this application was
Put
approved.
your mic on.
This application was approved in July of 2022.
Yeah.
The letter saved for October 4th of 2022. And the building permit was applied for on November 17th of 2022. And respectfully, I just find it very unfair of you to discredit someone who's not here to defend them.
I'm just saying what's in the record.
Right, this is in the record, and I specifically remember you having to come in because the letter took too long. which was also very common. Yeah, you need the approval letter
I
to
could've-
get the building, to apply for the building permit. And I don't think that he would have agreed to the statement of I'm never filing it. That's just not his character. It's not his MO. It was delayed from the approval in July to the letter being submitted in October. And it's on staff to verify that the deed is recorded before issuing the final CO. You haven't gotten there yet. I think the
No, I
program is a great program, but
Yeah.
I want to be clear that on a staff level, that's just not how that
Well,
works.
no, I have no problem with Alex, and you know that. My problem is that I have a resolution that this commission voted on,
Mhm.
and it doesn't stay in here 40%. You can read this whole thing. It doesn't say that there's a 40%, 40-year term limit. And then that was put into the approval letter. How can he put something in an approval letter that this commission didn't
So
approve?
you would have to go based off what the minutes on the record stated. We can go back, and if you don't agree with the approval letter, we did this, but 2 weeks ago where we modified an approval letter to.
Well, I don't wanna go back. I need a loan. I wanna go forward. I wanna finish the building. I wanna get my CO. I've got 23 million invested. I need to rent those units out, and I need the $2.5 million to finish up. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not picking on Alex. I'm not picking on anybody. I'm just giving the facts.
Commissioner, two more. The 40-year deed,
To the mic, the rest of.
the 40-year deed, is that specifically to the 830G?
Yeah,
Affordable housing.
I have it in front of me.
It may
so
be
I can read
affordable
it.
housing, but it's considered as 830G.
Yeah, under 830 G statute,
Oh.
I have it right here, I'll put it in the record. It says number 6, set aside development means a development in which not less than 30% of the dwelling units will be conveyed by deeds containing covenants or restrictions which shall require that for at least 40 years after the initial occupation of the proposed development, such dwelling units shall be sold or rented out.
So if we're asking for 40 years, I would assume that's what this is all about. Do we class that as an 830G?
Yeah, I did not apply under 830.
No, I know that.
Timeline wise, this was fairly new and when we were changing our affordable housing, so a lot of terminology is different. In our research, and Attorney Teodosio can input if he needs, but in our research, yes, it's specific to 830G, but the commission has the right to put in timelines.
Yeah.
So that's what was agreed upon, not just for this project, but for several
I agree with
projects, so
that.
it is common. But the commission does have that discretion.
Okay, what the resolution, was that a dated or?
Yes, the resolution that I have is dated July 11th, 2022, and that was approved by this commission. Most of you were on them. I recognize
Yeah, right.
almost
The
all of
meeting
you.
was actually July 12th.
The meeting was July 12th, but the draft of it says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
So
says
Attorney
Oh, I said July 12th.
consideration
Oh,
at the
sorry
July
about that.
12th meeting.
Yeah.
Attorney Bellis, I wasn't here at the time. so
No, you
said-
were not. I apologize. Yeah.
No, so you said the 830G was not in effect at the time of your presenting it in front of the board, correct?
No, I did not present an 830G application. I did a PDD that this resolution addressed. And there wasn't even at the time, the town did not have, as best I can recall, an affordability plan that was approved.
So,
They may have been talking about it. I don't remember time wise, but it was never approved.
so I guess my question then is, to Madam Chair, when did we put it into effect? Because if it wasn't in effect in July,
It was not.
then there's, I see Attorney Bell's point that couldn't have been considered on July 12th or whatever it
Yeah.
was if we didn't have it in effect on July 12th.
See,
Actually,
what I would say, you know, you're saying the law doesn't require deed restriction
Not for 40 years.
for affordable housing
It does,
designation.
it does under the
Only in
workforce.
the 830G.
Yeah,
Or the CHAFA requires what, a 20, you're
20
saying, in this
yeah.
particular program.
yeah,
So that's, I think, news to all to me,
Yeah.
you know, I think we've been operating under the belief that we were requiring that
This-
40-year deed restriction on all of the affordable units that we have.
I don't know whether you
I
assume.
think
Okay, Attorney Teodoso?
All of the units that you approve as an 8-30G
Right.
unit require 40 years.
Got that.
I think that the question here is what type of imposition was to be imposed, or what type of limitation was to be imposed on the units that were called affordable housing units when the application came through.
right,
And Steve, I have one question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm aware of the workforce housing. Usually the workforce housing mortgages have variable income restrictions, not just 80%. Isn't some of it 60% also?
So what, I didn't want to get too technical. It goes up to, yes, some of it is 60%.
If it's a larger project.
Yeah,
Right.
Chaffa does an analysis, and they tell us whether you, that's what I was trying to say. They tell you what you can, what the income is for our area as well as what we can charge. We have no say in it,
Okay,
none.
the last question is this.
Yeah,
I understand what you're asking the commission, but I need the commission to understand what you're saying. Are you saying that the workforce housing component of the state, Chaffa, has said to you, we will not loan you money if it's longer than 20 years?
No, they never said that. They didn't say that. That's not what they said. What they said is Shelton doesn't have an administrator to administer these affordable units.
All right, but they also.
And they said, that's a problem for us. That's what they said.
That's a problem for them.
Yeah.
But, under 8-30G, we can impose
But-
that the
Yeah,
administrator be actually part of the group that brings in.
but I never did 830G.
Understood. I'm just trying to let the commission understand the difference between the two programs.
Yeah,
Is-
there is a difference. I agree with you, Fran.
I just think that every time that an application came before us and there was discussion, we would always ask, how many affordable units are
You
you
did.
going to? And that's what we always, I believe, for myself, said, all right, those are the ones that are gonna be deed restricted for 40 years.
But you made an assumption that it would be for 40 years, as did
Mhm.
Commissioner Parkins.
Yeah, for all.
But it's not in the resolution.
projects.
We never discussed it.
But it's in
And it-
state statute.
Is it?
No,
or
the state statute is only for 8-30G. You have to be
Right.
clear on that. It's right in front of me.
If the application is filed as an 830G, if it's
Correct.
filed as a PDD,
yeah.
Or we just voluntarily do
we
it.
voluntarily do
And we voluntarily did it in this case.
10%.
But the statute
Yes.
states that a town, unless it has 10% of its housing
Mhm.
designated as affordable, which is deed restricted for 40 years, we will continue to be subject to 830G applications. So why would one think that we are putting this housing plan into place to get affordable housing if it's not going to count toward our 10%?
Is that what the law says? I mean, it's.
Yeah, that's not what the law says, but,
What's
The-
not what the law says?
the law doesn't, the law allows these Chaffa mortgages to count. The law allows deed restricted units.
The
to count.
statute allows that, Steve? The statute?
Yeah. Yes. Yes, there's no, I think as, the 40-year thing just kind of popped up, because it does specifically say that in a set-aside development under 830G, it has to be 40 years. If the town wanted to, I'm not suggesting they did, they could have come up with any number they wanted it. And it would count towards the affordable units if they wanted to deed restrict it for a shorter period of time. There's no requirement in the statute that says that you have to do this. As a matter of fact, I just explained the deed restriction in this program is 20 years. The Chapel one that I'm looking for. I didn't make that up. I don't think they would pass it. And I had everybody call just to verify that I'm not just, saying something that isn't true. And Vincent from Chapel said, yes, this program qualifies and gives your town credit for those 20
Do you happen to have
years.
that in writing, Steve?
I don't know if Kelly called Vincent, or I think Kelly called Vincent.
You're talking about Ms. Rosanna?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, your council called. I gave her his phone number. I've been doing this for 40 years, Commissioner Parkins. I'm not trying to hide the ball. You know?
I know, but
Alright.
I'm trying to protect the interests of the community of Shelton, right? And not
I
just
think
one
you're getting
developer.
double
We
the- you're getting
we
double
can't
the
make our
number of-
decisions based on the developer. Attorney
get
Bellis,
it.
and I'm sure you know that.
Yeah, but
We
I'm
have to
giving
look
double
out for the benefit of the entire city of Shelton, and I just, you know,
Yeah, you're under the impression, and I hate to say it, but I think it's wrong, that you need to deed something for 40 years to get credit. That's just not true.
All right,
but you're
I-
saying the workforce housing deeds it for 20 years. So
Yes, it
you're
does.
saying because you have the loan for 20 years, it's a 20-year term, I assume, that
Yes, it
it
is.
would be deed restricted for 20 years, but that deed
That's
restriction
correct.
gets removed as soon as that loan gets paid off, which could be
No.
as soon as 6 years. No?
If you paid it off the next day, you're still deed restricted for 6
Or at
years.
least
For 6 years, but not 20.
That is correct.
Mhm.
I didn't write the deed restriction. I don't want you to think that I made those numbers up. They gave it to me.
Okay, look I just want to point out 2 things. The cover page of the affordable housing plan was adopted on March 29th, 2023 by the commission, and it was approved by Shelton Board of Aldermen on May 11th, 2023.
Yeah.
And seeing that Mrs. Zano is here in the audience, I'll give you the opportunity if you want to make any comments.
Yeah, so
No,
I think that
okay.
confirms what I said, that when I got this approved in 2022, we didn't have an affordability plan.
Okay, and Ms. Castro, you had a comment?
Yeah, I can read from an email that was sent by Marcus Smith at Chaffa. There is the 20-year term with a minimum of 6 years. And one of the excerpts from this email is, in instances where an owner approaches the town and requests the option for using the Build for CT program, the town could approve the use of the program as currently documented or request that the declaration page provide for a minimum term that is longer than 6 years. Should they come to an agreement with the owner on what is an acceptable minimum term, a representative of the town and the owner should request, typically virtual, meeting with Chaffa to review the program and discuss what modification to the program they are proposing and whether it can be accommodated.
Yeah, I'm not asking this commission to modify the program.
Attorney Bellis, when you
We're leaving it
agreed,
as 6 years.
It's 20 years.
Minimum 6.
Yeah, minimum 6.
That's the scary part.
when you
You have to
agreed,
be crazy to pay off that loan.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not doing it.
Just
No,
to be
no, no,
clear.
but when you agreed to the initial.
Well, the trade-off to
10%,
paying off the loan on the low interest is that
What?
you're no longer you're getting full market value, Commissioner Amato, if you think about it.
Right, yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Kelly had a
You
point?
still owe money at 6%.
When you agreed to the initial 10%, I am.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What did you think the term would be?
I think Commissioner Parkins asked me the same question. I didn't know at the time, to be honest with you, how long the term would be. I know that, that when I took out the loan for the $23 million, that was a
Right.
10-year note. And I knew that it had prepayment penalties in it. So I know I'm holding on to that note for 10 years.
At least 10.
Yeah, at least 10 years. So I assumed it would be for at least 10 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think I was gonna do it for 6 months, I knew that. But I didn't ever, no, you know
Unless you
that.
win the lotto.
Yeah.
Would you
unless I
be
won.
willing to commit to that?
Would,
Or maybe to a
do you
20-year
mean?
regardless of whether the loan.
yeah, I
is
have,
paid
well,
off.
I would be willing to commit to making it, at least on the, I can't change the Chaffa portion, you guys know
Correct.
that. But on the 10% that you gave the city, I would be willing to commit to, having it be 20 years. Unless, and even if I sold it the next day, no less than 10 years, because I'm not gonna refinance that. I'm gonna get penalized too much on it, so.
Yeah.
It
That I
sounded
can-
like what Alexandria just read us, though, that we could petition Chaffa to make it a condition that it carry, that 20% carry for 10 years.
Yeah,
Did
I'm
I-
okay.
did I
would
mishear?
be- Yeah, I don't think they'll be I don't think they would object to that, is what I'm saying.
Mhm.
I don't think so.
So 20% affordable for 20% affordable for 10-year commitment.
No,
Right.
I can't touch the
They
Chaffa
would
side.
put a vote
10% are gonna be whatever they say, 20 years and 6. It's your 10% that we're talking about.
But you can do you can discuss the 20%.
No, I'm not gonna do that, then I'm gonna withdraw the application and just, next time I'll just do 830G. That's not fair.
All right, let's
You know,
Let's
that's
come-
not why I came up
get
here.
everybody's thoughts on this. The latest kind not much a great proposal
Yeah, I'm trying to be fair.
is to commit to, what again, commission? I've had so many different things,
I can't change the.
No, I'm gonna ask the
chapter.
commission.
Oh, sorry.
okay, which is the 10-year minimum, no, 6-year minimum, but you're holding it for 10 years.
No,
No,
I can't change Chaffa's program.
no, but you were saying, didn't you just say because of payment penalties?
What I said on the
Yeah.
10% that I volunteered to give to the town, I'm standing by that 10%.
For
And
how
I
many
will-
years?
20 years.
Well, 10 year, it would be 20 years, not less than 10 if it were sold or whatever it may be.
Not less than 10,
Yeah,
no more than 20.
Yeah.
If it were sold, what do you mean by that?
well, I mean, maybe sold's not the right word, but there would be a minimum of at least 10 years, no matter what happens that.
It's a deed restriction, so if you
Yeah.
sell it, it goes with the land, right?
Yeah, I apologize. You're right. Commissioner Parkins is right. So
So,
the deed restriction would be no less than 10 years. That would be a better way to phrase it.
okay,
On the 10% or the 20%?
On the 10% that I gave the town, on the
Okay.
other one, it's
Yeah.
20 years or
Yeah.
6
so the second 10%,
is a Chaffa.
Chaffa,
I can't change that.
Next.
It's 20 years
20
What is
years,
20?
not less than 20 years,
or
No.
yeah,
or.
It's not
Well,
less
that's
than
20.
6.
it's not less than 6.
Not less than
Less than
6,
six.
That program is set in stone. That's, there's no
right,
change.
not less than 6, not more than 20?
Yeah, it's a 20-year loan.
Well,
It can't be longer than 20.
Is it a restriction on paying the loan off in 20 years? Is that what
It's a 20-year note.
it is? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, not giving everyone the deed restriction. They already have a form prepared.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So what's?
So that would be a compromise.
Yes.
Not what I came here to ask, but I'm willing to do it.
All right, so what's the commission's feeling if the terms were 10% for not less than 10, not more than 20? And the Chaffa portion, 10% is not less than 6, not more than 20.
And it's confusing, but I hope you understand it.
Yeah, I mean, the Chaffa, doesn't it require you to have the whole 20%
I will have
would
20%.
be under their terms?
That's what I came in here for, but I'm getting pushed back.
20% would not be more than 20 years.
That's what I came in for.
Right, so. the
Doesn't
only
make the whole
change
thing
is-
20 years and not less than 6.
Which is what the Chaffa,
Yeah, that was just
20%.
that's what I came in asking for.
okay.
Not less than 6, not more than 20. Is that right? Is that your
Just,
latest?
you have to think with the position we're putting ourselves in, right?
Mhm.
So anybody that comes forward now with an 830 or with affordable housing that wasn't an 830G application is going to be looking to diminish their commitment of time.
I would disagree with that
Because I don't think any resolution we've passed where affordable housing was given to us without a 830G application, I don't think any of our resolutions include a 40-year, the language. I think it's
But
just
I-
understood that that's what it is. So bad on us if
No,
that's
but
the
I think
case.
To help bail the town out, Commissioner Parkins, we did this, as the chairman said, prior to your affordability plan enacted. It was done in 2022. We voluntarily did this. There was no affordability plan. So if someone else came to you and there was an affordability plan in place, you could say, too bad.
Mhm.
We're an exception because of the fact that we did this voluntarily.
I don't think you're an exception. I think there were others
I think
that
we are.
voluntarily gave 10% without an 830G application.
But there was an affordability plan in place.
No, but we knew that was coming.
It was coming.
Required, and we
Yeah.
did ask every
Yeah, you did ask.
developer.
A lot of the
Right.
downtown developers said no. I was their lawyer. I remember. I said, you guys want to give them affordable? No. I said, okay, no. They all said, no, I can list them all. I don't want,
Well, there are 2 in the audience that we can certainly
Yeah,
ask.
yeah, but they came later. came later. I'm talking about the downtown.
All right,
Madam Chair.
let me,
Anyway, I don't want
Yeah,
to get decided.
okay, two things. I'd like to ask Attorney Tito, so if he has any comments, and Commissioner Presiano.
Whatever limitation you put in place, Attorney Parkin or Commissioner Parkins was correct that the restriction should run with the land, so you better make that clear. So if the
Yeah.
unit is sold tomorrow to an investor, whatever your two dates are, that runs with the land.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Mhm.
I misspoke. I apologize. It's not when it's sold. it does run with the land.
Mhm.
And the deed that I provided you all, it does say that.
Mhm. All right, thank you, Attorney
Thank you.
Tito. Commissioner Cristiano?
Hearing hearing the clarification from Attorney Bellis today, I'm leaning of the opinion of, what he originally came in tonight with may be the best option for this commission, because if this was presented to the board at the time, predating any set agenda, regardless of what transpired after, or systems or agreements that are put into place after that. He predates that. And, if it wasn't stated on the record, if it wasn't put into the deed, I think we're in a tough position to now retrospectively ask him to include those things.
Mhm.
I would say it's a plus overall, to get the 20% affordable units.
Mhm. Okay, is there any other comments, questions, or concerns for Attorney Bellis? If not, we need to go. to
I would
public
just
portion.
like to make sure that 20% for however long it's gonna carry, it could be as little as 6 years, is going to count toward our 10%.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will.
Put that in your approval.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah,
It
I
comes to
agree.
me a little bit off the topic, but it seems like we have a long ways to go before we really understand everything about affordable housing. And that possibly not having a 40-year requirement would help us in some instances.
Exactly, that's exactly what. A couple of years ago, I testified, there is no incentive if something is for 40
Especially when we
years.
start talking about ADUs and how,
Right, exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So,
Okay, if there aren't any questions for Attorney Bellis, then I do need to go to the public portion. Can I have that sheet, please? And check to see if there are any elected officials in the city of Shelton that are present here in the auditorium that wanted to comment on this application. I see no one indicating such. If there's any elected officials participating remotely that would like to comment on this application, please use Zoom's raise your hand feature, dial *9 on your phone to be identified. Ms. Castro, do we have anybody?
Yes, we have Margaret.
This is elected officials.
Oh, sorry, no.
Okay, no elected officials. All right, any members of the public here in the auditorium? There are none. And, members of the public participating remotely? You indicated that you have one.
Yes, Margaret.
Okay, please identify yourself for the record. Proceed. You have 5 minutes.
Yeah, I agree to this proposal because it, goes to our 10%. Is there any way to make it, all of it, affordable housing?
No.
Just
Okay, is that your only question?
no, that was my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Margaret. So does the applicant want to respond to the public's comment?
Yeah, that's not feasible economically.
Okay. Is there anybody else?
No.
No, okay. All right, so Attorney Bellis has responded to that. The economics just won't work for the
I don't think it's even desirable in terms of the overall goal of affordable being blended in and not separate.
Mhm. Okay,
Supposed to be fine.
all right, so any final comments? Okay, any final comments, questions, or concerns from the commission for Attorney Bellis? Okay, how does the commission want to proceed with this? Is there a motion to continue or close the public hearing?
We should close.
Close it and.
Okay, motion to close from Commissioner Amato?
Yeah.
Okay. And a second from Commissioner Kelly. So on the motion to close the public hearing for this application 2425, Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Cristiano,
All right,
Commissioner Tiki.
Aye.
Commissioner Amato.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Motion is passed by a vote of 6-0. And this item will be on the agenda of upcoming
Can we
meeting.
just?
Can we vote now?
Discussion?
I need a loan.
Can we just?
Yeah.
Does everybody feel comfortable with taking an action tonight?
I'd rather do it now while
Yeah.
I can still remember what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Okay, so there's someone that wants to present a motion for this application.
I would like to make a motion to approve as presented by the applicant.
Presented by the applicant, I think was a little different than, are we talking about 20%, no less than 6?
Talking about the CHAPA program.
Yep. But we need to clarify the term. So
20% for 20 years or?
it's
20%.
the last I had is 20%.
20 years unless the loan is paid off, and then it's a minimum of 6.
And if there's any restrictions, it runs.
Deed
with-
restricted, deed
deed
restricted,
restricted.
and it must count toward the city's affordable housing count.
Mhm. Okay, and the deed restriction runs with the land. So come to the, okay,
Original 10%? Is that covered?
no,
No, I'm not, that's not what I'm,
so what's your motion gonna be, what percent?
it's gonna be as stated in the applicant's request, so 20%.
Mm-hmm,
Madam Chair,
yes, go ahead.
why don't you take a 5-minute break and we'll write a motion?
Attorney Sedosa, that's an excellent suggestion, so the commission will stand in recess at 7:48.
go on to the next.
And now-
We're back on sound.
All right, the commission is now, returned from recess at 7:58 PM. And I'll recognize the attorney Teodoso.
All right, I'm gonna read this once to make sure it's what everybody thinks they've directed me to write. So if you need any edits, we can edit before a vote. Move to approve a major modification of PDD 101 to require that 20% of its units be deed restricted per Chaffa's build for CT, that's BUILD number 4 CT income requirements for at least 6 years and no more than 20 years, provided Shelton can get credit towards its affordable housing credit with the state of Connecticut for the said 20%.
For that time period?
Yeah.
Or it's assumed for that.
Yeah, I
time
mean,
period.
Yeah.
we're gonna contact the state of Connecticut, we're gonna say we've got 20% set aside here for 6/20, are you giving us credit?
Mhm.
They say, yes, we're all set.
So should we have something contingent on?
It says provided.
Provided, okay. Very good.
Well,
All right,
I
any
believe
questions?
Attorney Bellis has to provide that to Chaffa in order to get the loan signed off on, correct?
I think it's two ways. He's gotta give this to Chaffa, but we are saying right in it that we're only doing it if we get the credit.
Correct.
It's my understanding you do get the credit.
Okay. All right, any questions for Attorney Teodoso on the motion?
I'm sorry, did it specified credit toward our affordable housing count?
It says that.
Yes,
Okay, so why don't we move, I'll read it one more time, and then I'll ask somebody to move the motion. So,
move to approve a major modification of PDD 101 to require that 20% of its units be deed restricted per Chaffa Build 4 CT income requirements for at least 6 years and no more than 20 years, provided that Shelton can get credit toward its affordable housing credits with the state of Connecticut for the said 20%.
all right, any, want to move the motion?
I'll move the motion.
Okay, so there's a motion, from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second?
Second.
And that's Commissioner Cristiano. Any, discussion? Okay, on a roll call on the motion read by Attorney Teodoso, Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
okay, Commissioner Amato,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki,
I'm.
Commissioner Cristiano,
All right.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Motion has passed by a vote of 6-0.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. All right, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is old business and application 24-27 Cedar Village at the Locks, 281 Canal Street, LLC. At 281 Canal Street, Assessors Map 139, lots 3 and 4 for our final site development plans. Approval on 1.92 acres for 129 apartments, 1,745 square feet of retail and 192 parking spaces. This application was accepted for review on October 9th, 2024, and an update was given to the commission. Posted to the city's website is an OSTA overall site plan, a letter dated May 8th, 2024 from the Connecticut Department of Transportation, the original and revised final site development plan, an engineering report, a letter from the city engineer. Ms. Castro, are there any other reports, materials, or correspondence received?
No.
I gave you the wrong pen, give me that. Okay, that we do not need to, anything to be acknowledged for the record. Okay, so, Ms. Castro, is there any information you want to share with the commission?
Yes, so, an original resolution was prepared and approved in April of 2023. Typically, when final site plans go before the commission, Given there were no major changes and everything was just complied with what was requested in the resolution, staff just prepares an approval notice, an approval letter, to submit to the applicant to apply for their building permit. In this case, I reviewed the entire resolution and the only changes were to the parking space count, which went from 187 to 199. And everything else that was changed was what the commission, city engineer and fire marshal requested. Currently, the only thing outstanding is approval from WPCA, which is pending. It is being reviewed by their engineer and they're expected to go back on their agenda soon. So the applicant can just provide staff with the approval notice from WPCA prior to applying for building permits.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Castro?
No, that makes sense.
Okay, so is there anyone that wants to make a motion to approve the final site development plan?
Do we
Right.
need to do that?
Yes,
We need to
Yeah.
vote. The last
We do?
meeting you voted requesting that a favorable resolution be prepared.
Yep,
Uh,
right.
But that's not the case. It's just.
it's just a straight vote. We've done this before.
Make
Yeah.
a motion to approve the final site development plan.
I'll second that.
With any, you want to make any references contingent with the WPCA approval?
Yes, correct. Contingent with WPCA approval, and then just to correct, Ms. Castro, was changed to 192 parking spaces.
99,
199 from 192. It went up.
from 187 to 199.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was 187, now it's 199.
The agenda says 192.
Yeah, that's like the original.
No problem. Just wanted to correct what was there.
Okay. All right, is everybody clear? There's a motion to approve the final site development plans for application 2427 made by Commissioner Cristiano, seconded by Commissioner Kelly. And the approval would increase the parking count to 199. It's contingent on the WPCA approval being received before building permit can be obtained. All right, any questions on that motion? All right, on roll call, Commissioner Amato,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki. Commissioner Cristiano,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Motion is passed by a vote of 6-0. All right, final agenda item is other business and the recommendation of the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission to amend section 5.2, add new section 5.2.1, delete sections 32.12.2 and 33.12.3, amend section 45.6, amend sections 45.6.1, 45.6.2, 45.6.3, and 45.6.4. Delete section 45.6.5, amend section 45.6.6, delete 45.6.7, amend 45.6.8, delete section 45.6.9, and to amend Schedule B, line 6B. And all this is to conform to Connecticut Public Act 23-142 and
21-29.
and Public Act 21-129.
No,
29.
29.
21-29, okay? So is there a motion to accept and for staff to set a public hearing?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, so the motion to accept and to set a public hearing from Commissioner Amato. Is there a second?
Second that.
Commissioner Cristiano seconded, so on the motion, Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki. Commissioner Amato,
Aye.
Commissioner Cristiano.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion is passed by a vote of 6-0. And there is a memo that was prepared by staff that details everything. And the reason why we need to do this in the very near future is because the city of Shelton has to submit documentation to the state of Connecticut that our zoning regulations are in conformance with all public or all the state statutes. It is a document that has to be signed by the chief municipal officer, which is our mayor. And it has to be submitted by December 31st.
December. Yes.
Okay, So that's why we have to, this had to be on the agenda tonight so that we could set a public hearing. So please take the time to look over the, information that, Alexandra just,
Lot of information.
yeah. It's,
Is it posted as well?
It's not posted yet. My apologies. This is,
You were going to
I
email
was
it,
going to email this.
Yeah.
I just wanted to
Okay.
make sure that other people.
okay, and that majority of the changes, Ms. Castro, have to do with house
Accessory dwelling units, housing and daycares.
daycare. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, seeing that there is no other item on the agenda, the chair declares this meeting is adjourned as of 8:08 PM. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in November.